That was a childhood issue. That's not his fault. I'm in therapy because of my childhood, not because of my marriage.
Super excited this week to be joined by Cara Clark.
Celebrity nutritionist Cara Clark is leading us to a life that feels good.
And whether you're hoping to shed a few pounds, increase energy levels, or tighten and tone up, our next guest is here to help.
After my second child, I started getting into the celebrity expert world. So I created these seasonal challenges and I focused on my feel-good approach. Eating within the hour of waking up, combining all 3 macros. 5 different colors a day. There's 7 kids. You get attention when you earn it. And when you get attention, that feels like love.
Number 1 tip for someone who feels like they don't know where to start with their nutrition and it's all overwhelming.
The big silence. It's time to sing.
Welcome to the podcast, Cara Clark.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, excited to talk to you.
Yes.
So what was your childhood like?
My childhood, well, I'm one of 8 kids.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I'm one of 8 kids.
I don't feel bad for saying I have 7 Pomeranians.
So my childhood is like chaos is normal. So I grew up next to 5 cousins, 4 cousins across the street, and my great-grandma. And my great-grandma was kind of the matriarch of our family because my maternal grandmother passed away with her 6th child. And so there's always this like grief, like this sense of grief because my mom's mom died when she was 11, but that was the grandma that was in our life, her grandma. So her sister lived next door, her brother across the street. And it was just this overarching, like, I didn't have a mom, so I don't know. I didn't have like, so I was the oldest girl of all the cousins of my family. So it was a great childhood for the most part, but everybody has their things that start to come up, My dad was always super healthy in the sense that like he grew a big garden. We literally had to seed it, grow it, water it, everything. Plant it, pick it, everything.
Yeah.
Like friends, boyfriends, girlfriends had to pick beans if they wanted to hang out with us.
Oh, wow. So did you have friends?
Yeah, surprisingly, people loved it.
No, because growing up, my dad was like all into veggies, tofu, brown rice, and I hated it. And none of my friends would come over. Oh. Because after school, my friends had like Velveeta cheese and chips or like Pillsbury cookies that we could bake. So we all went to their house.
Okay. So my cousins next door had that house where they had all the snacks. Yeah. We had snacks. My mom got chips and like cereal, but my dad wouldn't let us eat the cereal for breakfast. It wasn't breakfast. It was like a snack. So people came over because my dad was kind of entertaining. He would make them try hot peppers and would laugh. So yeah, they still came. I don't know why. Maybe because it was always a party at our house.
Yeah. So you end up in LA or California.
Orange County.
At 18. How'd you end up there?
I actually went to Oklahoma at 18 for a college basketball scholarship. Not Oklahoma University, a smaller school in Oklahoma, and then ended up in California at 22.
Did you finish college? You did?
Yeah, 4 years of college and basketball. I almost didn't finish basketball there. Oklahoma was a big culture shock.
Yeah. Why?
I think they consider it the Midwest, but it's not. And when you go to Ohio, there's a lot of people from other places. When you go to California, there is melting, like this is a melting pot.
Yeah.
Austin's a melting pot. Oklahoma is not a melting pot.
Yeah.
It is born and raised and bred and I say bred together. I'm just kidding. That's not the case. But some community, I know, right? Some communities felt like that. I'll just say like I was a pretty average student in high school and I was the highest level student in college. People were asking me to tutor them. Yeah. And it's like real cowboys and Indians. Like,
love that.
That part was cool. And we had a river by us, so that was fun. And yeah, I was focused on basketball, so it was what it was. And I don't want to hate on Oklahoma because I had a great 4 years there.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I'm in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because of my friend from Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, okay. You end up in Orange County then. How'd you get there?
My brothers live there.
Okay.
So after I was done, I went to an extra semester of college to see what college was like without being an athlete. And so I graduated in the winter, and you're certainly not going back to Ohio in December. And I prayed about it, and God was just kind of like, go to California. So I moved in with my brothers, which was fine, but they expected me to be their mother.
Well, I mean, they probably needed you.
Yeah, they're like, we'll buy the food if you cook the food. I'm like, well, I'm giving you the grocery list then. Because I was even particular then.
Yeah.
Because I was, an athlete. So yeah, I ended up in California because I followed them. But I met my husband 5 weeks later.
Okay. In Orange County.
Mm-hmm. We were set up from the basketball world.
Oh, really? So the natural way, no apps or anything?
Well, no apps, but MySpace. Do you remember MySpace?
Oh my gosh. The podcast guest that was here before you, we were talking about MySpace again.
So anyway, somebody set us up and he added me on MySpace and then like never reached out. And so one day I added him to people I'd like to meet. And I was like, look at my MySpace. And he did. And he's like, took me out to dinner that night.
That's cute.
And it was over. I haven't said that story in a while.
Okay. So integrative nutritionist, how did you get there?
Well, that's like a 3-part story, and I'll try to keep it short. But just coming into California can really, blow your mind when you're from the Midwest or Southern Midwest region. You just like see all the beauty and you want the beauty, So there's like a yearning for health in that regard. Like I want to look a certain way. But I was also coming out of being a college athlete and I wanted to perform and I wanted to take that like performance energy into regular life. And like, I really just wanted to get married, to be honest. So it wasn't like I was like building this huge career right out of college. I got really good jobs. I got fortunate with that. But I started my nutrition business, just nutrition. And actually a little fitness. I did train boot camp for sororities.
Oh, cute.
Because I wanted to help them with eating disorders. So it led me into the spiral of control of disordered eating. And I was like, if I'm feeling this way, then this is a community that's really feeling it and needs some guidance.
I love that. We were just, before we came to Nashville, we were in Knoxville at UT Knoxville.
Oh, cool.
And the struggle to find healthy food around the campus, it was impossible. Impossible.
Wow. I guess I've never even looked at the campus, but my kids play soccer over there and there's a decent amount of options in Knoxville, but not on campus. I went to That's such a shame.
Chick-fil-A, they had grilled chicken and I got some sauces and they did have a kale salad there. But everything else, like it was very like, Des and I were having this conversation, like how can college students eat healthy? And then if you're talking about disordered eating and then what your options are, it was really tough. And trust me, we were all over Google Maps, everything, looking for anything healthy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, fun fact, if you go outside the campus, there is a Nectar, which is so random because that's a California thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the same shopping center, there's an Anthropology, Free People,
We weren't in that area.
So it's like a mile from campus.
Okay.
But yeah, it's true. And I do think most campuses, at least in the cafeteria, I know they have allergy lines because I'm dealing now with my clients' daughters. So I have a lot of like my longtime, followers, clients asking me to help their daughters, and their daughters do go through the allergy lines, but you're so limited. Like you can only have a microwave or a mini fridge. Like it's hard to imagine going back to that. It's hard to imagine that my kids will be able to do that too.
Yeah.
Like with their castor oil wraps and their red lights and
Wait, do your kids do all that?
Yes.
Really? Wow.
Oh my gosh. My kids are fanatical about the PEMF mat. Detox
I have
baths,
that. Got it.
red and blue light.
Got it.
And I have to make them do their castor oil wraps.
On their abdomen?
Yeah.
Abdomen.
Yeah, just to help their livers when, they need to detox hormones.
Yeah. Let's go back to, I love talking about younger generations and eating disorders in colleges. What are the stats that you're seeing these days?
I haven't explored the stats recently, but when I was starting, the stats were 3 out of 5 girls. I can't imagine that it's like worse or better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to believe that it could be worse or better. And if anything, maybe even slightly worse, just because now there's all the social media to compare to and, the unrealistic highlight reels of everybody's life.
Yeah.
And I even noticed, because I have teenage daughters, like them checking themselves out in the mirror and like seeing how they can look a certain way.
How about you as a teenager? Did you struggle? No, you're like,
I was like a 3-sport athlete and like I wanted to be big and strong. So it didn't hit me until I moved to California.
Okay.
Did you?
Yeah, I struggled in many ways as a teenager and struggled with some bulimia. My home life was terrible, but it was like when, this was in the 90s and all of my friends would compete and they'd be like, I only had a Diet Coke today.
Oh, really?
It was bad. Yeah.
Wow.
It was short-lived.
I kind of thought we got out of that in the Midwest.
Maybe just who I was hanging out with.
Yeah.
But no.
I did have a coach that would check our lunches.
Really?
And I felt like that was super extreme, especially because as athletes, like you need like 3,500 calories, and he would be like, no, you can't eat that. You can't eat that. He was the one with the eating disorder.
Yeah. But also my mom was like slim fast all the way. And she's like, drink this. And she also she wanted me to be a model. So she would take me to Chicago to like Cindy Crawford's agent who signed me. And I was like, I was young and they're like, you need to lose 10 pounds. And I was like, I didn't even realize I was overweight, which I wasn't.
Wow.
I'm like a tall, skinny girl. And so I think that's what, the parental influence.
For sure.
And my mom always talking about weight and weight loss and dieting kind of led into that.
Yeah. I feel like my mom never did a diet, honestly. Yeah. She never did a diet. And then my dad was just always training us to be strong.
That's great.
Like we had creatine in high school.
Oh, wow.
I know. He was super ahead of the times.
Wow.
And he had our piles of vitamins out and all 7 of us went to college for sports.
Wow.
Which is like unheard of. They didn't all finish, but all the girls, well, no, not all the girls, but yeah, still. So he worked really hard to make athletes strong.
Yeah. Well, I think my dad was always a runner and he was the healthy one. My mom was the diet focused, unwell, mentally, physically, all of that stuff. So
yeah. Well, I couldn't ever do anything good enough for my mom.
Same.
Yeah. And nothing was ever
same.
Right. But these days I can't do any wrong. I gave him 4 granddaughters. So they're happy with me these days. But yeah, I do remember just like, I don't know if you talk about performance-based love, and I know we're jumping ship here.
Oh, whatever.
But that was something that definitely put me into therapy. And actually, I remember going wanting my husband to go to marriage counseling with me and then realizing, oh, that was a childhood issue. That's not his fault. Because he would come home and like wipe the floors. And I would be like, it would make me feel a certain way rather than making me feel like he's helping. It would make me feel like he was hurting me or like I didn't do good enough.
Okay.
And so then it went back to that performance base. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in therapy because of my childhood, not because of my marriage.
Okay. Let's talk.
But sorry, I jumped ship.
No, let's jump ship. Performance-based love.
Yeah.
Explain that. I haven't done that in therapy.
Okay. So for me and my family, like there's 7 kids. It's you get attention when you earn it.
Okay.
And when you get attention, that feels like love. And so when you were performing, when you had the high stats and you got the write-up in the newspaper, then you got the attention and that felt like love. And so that's kind of what like my whole childhood and then carried into adulthood was like, I have to perform for people. I have to perform. And it makes you a like extreme pleaser, but then like a high level achiever that maybe is for or against your personality. And so I had to like figure out like, is this really me? And
I can see that with having so many siblings.
Yeah.
Like how do you stand out and the competitiveness? Were you close with your siblings? Are you still
I'm still very close with all of my
but
siblings.
You still had to perform.
Right. And there's still like kid arguments. I say kid arguments because it's like we're grown adults, but we argue like we're kids based on some types of jealousy, I guess you can say, or I don't know, but we are super loving, like connected family. We prayed a lot together. And I feel like that really took us through the hard times. But yeah, I'm definitely closer to 2 or 3 of them than I am all of them.
Do you have the most children? Are you performing the best?
Yeah. Literally. And I have the most successful business too. So yeah, it's never really took a pause until I acknowledged it in therapy. And then my husband was like, it's not me. I'm like, no, we're going to get to that.
He's like, I knew it wasn't me. Knew it.
Well, you've been married for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been with my husband for 14 years.
Okay. I've been with mine for how many?
Married 2016, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So we've been together for
14.
18 now and married 16.
I never remember, and he
I
gets
don't
so mad at
either.
me.
The only reason I remember is because I had to write it recently.
The only reason I remember how long we've been together is because my first Pomeranian Skunky is going to be 15, and Skunk was a year old when I started dating Bobby. So we've been together 14
Yeah,
years.
they do say you measure time by your children.
Yeah. Back to Orange County, integrative nutrition, how you got into that and your business today.
Yeah. So we got married and pretty quick, and then I got pregnant on our honeymoon. So I decided after we came back from that I was going to start my own business. And he was going to fund it.
What'd you go to? Perfect. What'd you go to school for?
Broadcast journalism.
Okay, so hey.
Put the microphone in my face. Yeah. So I was jumping, around a little bit on my career path, but not because I meant to. I always say, for me, it was a calling. Like God was like, I need you to do this. I need you here. And I was just always kind of obeying the call, because I'm a performer. So I'm not going to fight the call. So I got pregnant and I started these boot camps actually at Long Beach.
Okay.
That's where I started them.
Fun.
So random. I worked with so many of the sororities there. I still keep in touch with a lot of those girls these days. I remember them showing up for the Saturday morning with pizza in their purse and like one eyelash.
In their purse.
Like, I'm like, wow, you guys are here, but you're not really sober.
Still drunk from the night before.
And then I got babysitters out of that. I went and started at Chapman and I started at UCI and I got a lot of babysitter help. So I was able to run this business that I didn't expect, and then got into supplements a little, you know how that goes. Yeah. But it wasn't until 2013 when I was having my third daughter that I really created a sustainable business model. At that point, I stopped fitness after my second because I had 4 kids in 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Not much of a planner.
Just a performer.
It was I can keep performing. But I can't plan. I never found out what I was having either because I didn't want the pressure of decorating the nursery. I have all these neutral colors and I have 4 girls.
Wow. Okay.
I was just selling those little Pottery Barn chairs and they're blue, green, gray, brown. I'm really?
Brown?
I could have literally gotten just pinks and purples.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just did nutrition and that was my true calling. After my second child, my third child came along and I started working with some housewives of all people. I started
Orange County housewives?
Yes. I started getting into the celebrity expert world, and that just took my business to the next level, and nothing that I was ready for, But again, I always felt like God gave me the voice. He gave me the vision. And so I created these seasonal challenges, and I still do these 12 years later. So we still do seasonal challenges. They have names and themes and education associated with the theme and the season. And it's, really focused on my feel-good approach.
What's that?
The feel-good approach is my food philosophy combined with a little bit of other things. But eating within the hour of waking up, especially if you're a woman, eating every 3 to 4 hours after that. When the metabolic system is optimized, it'll be every 4 hours. Always combining all 3 macros. And that's kind of the big push that I teach, but I'm not a macros coach. I don't push only one macro or, eliminating essential macros for quick results. I don't push that. I push the sustainable lifestyle that supports the whole body, the whole mind, the whole spirit. So eating all 3 macros every time you eat, 5 different colors a day. And I thought that when I came up with that, I was like, this is fun. And then it's significant, it has become more significant as the years have gone on. Keeping meal sizes consistent, that helps stabilize the blood sugar. Stable blood sugar stabilizes the mood, stabilizes energy, and optimizes how we burn fat. And then drink half your body weight in ounces of water and adding Celtic salt for better electrolyte use. And then moving your body how it feels good 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So that's our big overarching feel good philosophy. And it's a roadmap, not a guide.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like it can vary, you know?
What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Because you're saying eat within an hour of waking up.
Yeah. I love talking about trendy diets.
Yeah, let's do it.
Bring it on. Lifestyle, medication, all those things. So intermittent fasting, I think is a tool that can be used really well for men. Mm-hmm. I don't think it works as well for women, especially cycling women. And when I utilize methods of intermittent fasting in my membership community, so the people that I'm talking to twice a month that I'm like super engaged with, and I can get them to their next level health, and that you can't do that on social media, right? Mm-hmm. So in my community, I sometimes use intermittent fasting for women that are menopausal or postmenopausal, and we do dinner. So we fast dinner so our body has lots of time to rest before sleep. Because if sleep isn't optimized, then blood sugar can't be optimized, fat burning can't be optimized, moods, energy, you name it. Nothing can be optimal if sleep's not good.
Right.
We take on women's health from like a little bit of a different lens because we're so focused on mind, body, spirit.
So let's say someone like me, I'm in menopause already.
Oh, induced?
No. I was perimenopause at 37.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't know it because no one was talking about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. And I had gained like over 30 plus pounds. And I mean, this was also during, I would say, also during COVID then, and my mom being her caretaker, and a lot of stress, a lot of cortisol, and then her passing, and just there's a lot going on all at one time. So I will say there's a lot of things. So I'm curious, as a woman, now that I've been in menopause for about 3 years, 2.5. And
how did you determine that with your doctor?
Yeah.
Your FSH levels were high and estrogen was low and
just hormones.
Okay.
And all of that. Yeah. And I had the night sweats, the anxiety of
but driven by cortisol. And I talk about this a lot, that cortisol hijacks our progesterone.
Yeah.
When our progesterone's hijacked, our cycle's hijacked. So it's all short-circuited. I get that.
Yeah, I've talked to some doctors on the podcast. They're like, I think we can bring you back to your cycle. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah. The nice thing about menopause, okay, so I just taught hormone master classes each stage, and I have daughters. So, puberty looks like that. And then cycling is kind of like predictable, and then perimenopause looks like puberty. And then menopause is like predictable.
Yeah.
So it's not. Yeah. It can be very nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in it. I know everyone's like so shocked, but I mean, I'm 44.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, but okay. So you're saying for someone in menopause, eating an earlier dinner is best. Explain that.
So digestion takes energy. And I think that people don't realize like how energy, people think of energy based on like their daily output. And they don't realize what all goes into the day-to-day energy inside the body. Digestion takes a lot of energy. And when the metabolic system is already in a natural slowing phase, then it's a good opportunity to give our bodies more rest at night rather than having to work so hard to digest. So my rule of thumb is, and I like, again, it's always a roadmap. Like there's ways and you could be sidetracked. So, and as a mom with kids that I'm driving around till 9 o'clock, like you don't always get dinner at the time you want. But ideally, you're not eating within 2 hours of bedtime. Right. And that's to optimize your sleep. It's not to like hurt you or make you feel like you can't have food. So yeah, the more time you give yourself at night, the more chance for better sleep you can have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for early bird dinner. I like to eat dinner at like 5 o'clock.
I know.
4 o'clock.
I'm with you. My husband's like, did you get reservations? I'm like, bro, we don't need reservations at 4:30.
Exactly. We can just go. I know someone invites you out for dinner, like, what time? They're like 7.
But surely your friends know by now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And my husband's all for the early bird special, too.
Yeah. My husband's on my page, but my friends are like, oh, well, we're going at 8, so we didn't include you.
The shock when someone says 9 p.m.
I know.
Like, what are you thinking?
I know. Or when you call and actually try to get reservations and they're like, next availability is at 8:45. And I'm like, we'll take our chances at the bar.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your book more. That comes out May 13th.
Yes. It's come out
Is this your
soon.
first book?
My first book by myself.
Okay.
Collaborated with Carrie Underwood's book, Find Your Path. And that came out in March 2020. So we got one step on the tour before the world shut down.
Okay.
And then I collaborated with Christina Hack on, or co-wrote with her on Wellness Remodel, which came out April 2020. So all of that show tour was canceled.
Wait, how do you know Carrie Underwood?
So that's my Oklahoma connection. We went to college together.
Oh, fun.
And then me and my husband visited in 2017 in Nashville, and they were like, you guys should move here.
And you're like, okay.
So I'm like, okay, I think if Carrie tells you you should move, you probably should.
Hey.
So yeah, we live near them.
Okay, walk me through it.
You know, I guess part of the experience is how it came to be. And it's not like this grand idea to write a recipe book. Like it's just a recipe book. But I wanted my own voice out there because I felt like there was a little bit of mixed messages in the other two books that didn't really perfectly represent my style. And then also my audience. Like my audience is mostly people that do things for themselves, and like you have to work really hard to do it, you know? Yeah. So I wanted to bring that aspect into it. So I went back to my editor from Wellness Remodel, and she was like, hey, you know, I really think you need a faith-based publisher. And she's like, I really think that, you know, if you want to be sincere with your own voice, it needs to include faith. And I was like, oh, okay. Like anytime you get rejected, you still feel somewhat rejected, but it was also like, oh, this is really good guidance. So I met with an agent here local, which was nice, instead of having to do the New York thing. And she pointed me to, actually I had one deal fall through, which to me was like, everything happens for you.
You're fine.
Not really.
No.
Yeah, I'm so
good with
used
rejection.
to. I am. Rejection's protection. I always say that.
I know. I didn't used to be good with it, but now I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I was bad with it, obviously.
Especially in sports. Yeah.
So I can talk about some scholarships I didn't get that really like pinged me, but
because you weren't performing.
Yes. Anyway, one of them was because I didn't have tattoos, and they wanted a badass with tattoos. That was the most heartbreaking one. I know. So anyways, the publisher that I got put with Penguin Random House is a Christian imprint, or actually spiritual imprint. I don't even know if it's Christian. It's spiritual imprint that really encouraged prayer. So prayer before meals and prayer at the beginning of the day, like meditative reflective time. So I added that into like the day, the structure of the meals. Was like a day. So like breakfast, 1 hour after you wake up to set the tone for the day. So I pray over my readers, and I get them into like a relaxed nervous system before they eat. So that was kind of the big moment of like, this is really you, this is really your voice. But it wasn't like this big, like, aha, like great idea. So it's my food philosophy, it's my voice, but we also use real people testimonials. So my tagline used to be real food, real people, real results. I don't use that anymore, but I really do think it's helpful for people to learn from others' experiences and be inspired by others' experiences. So yeah, we have breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, dessert, and drinks, not alcohol, but like warm beverages.
And cooking. Like, are your meals like quick, easy?
Oh, so the tagline of the book is simple recipes for a healthy life. And I will say, I tell people there's simple recipes except for dessert. You have to earn those.
Okay.
Those are not that simple, just because like, you know, if you're making a healthy dessert, you're going to need unique ingredients.
Yeah. So in your day to day, if you think about just feeling good, not just what is your feel good way? Like, what are your non-negotiables? Especially being a mom of 4.
Yeah. For me, it's getting the timing of my meals and macro balanced quality food. So that's a huge part of it. But it's also like waking up before the house and praying over the day, praying over my community, and spending time just like by myself.
What time do you wake up?
Naturally, like no later than 5:30.
Right. You don't set an alarm. You just
no. Oh, if I set an alarm on my phone, it does some weird stuff to my brain.
I know. I don't do an alarm anymore either. And If my husband, he's stopped setting an alarm because he used to have like a really obnoxious one where you wake up and cortisol, like heart racing.
Exactly.
I'm like, what is that? Like, you don't have to be up right now. He's like, oh, it's just my alarm
It's a
reminding
warning
me.
to my 1 hour wake up time.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like a lot of people these days are not setting alarms because we're just in flow.
Yeah, not setting alarms, not looking at our phones right when we wake up. I think these days the biggest shift I see is paying attention to the nervous system. And that part was something I really wanted to include in the book because I think anyone can heal if they can regulate their nervous system. Mm-hmm. And obviously that's harder for some people because, you know, growing up with your circumstances.
Trauma and anxiety.
And a lot of my clients are like that.
Yeah.
Like they had major big T's when they were growing up.
Yeah.
And so it's not easy to regulate the nervous system, but it's always step one.
Yeah.
And food can help with that, but so can deep breathing. So I really incorporate a lot of deep breathing into my day. And it can be just like box breathing or diaphragmatic or even just turning on like some binaural beats and like breathing through that to transition. So like I pack 4 lunches and make 4 breakfasts. And it's not like a cafeteria where they choose what they want. It's the same meal for all 4 of them. But it's like homemade acai and homemade sourdough and like stuff like that. So it's a pretty busy 2 hours. And when they get all dropped off, I'm like, okay.
So you
transition.
Get up at 5:30. What time do
they want me waking them up at 6?
Oh, so you only have a half hour.
Yes. And a lot of times I am diving right into like my calendar for the day.
Yeah.
After I do my prayer and stuff like that. Yeah. So I usually wake up by 5, but I say no later than 5:30. In that 1 hour window to drink some coffee, biohacked coffee. So it's not
What's your
spiking my
biohacked
cortisol.
coffee?
I do this core formula powder. Have you heard of the core formulas? Emily Morrow?
No.
Okay. She's in Texas, but anyways, it's got coconut powder in it. So it has a little bit of fat and then it has some vitamins, fat soluble vitamins. And then collagen and MCT oil.
Yeah.
So at least I have a little something in my stomach because you don't want to eat that early and I get it.
Yeah. I can't eat.
But I just don't like coffee on an empty stomach.
Yeah. I don't like to. I'm never hungry when I wake up, but I know you should eat. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Your body's used to using cortisol, though.
Yeah.
So you're good.
I'm good. Ready to go.
You don't need food for energy. You got cortisol.
So, okay. Kids go to school. Mm-hmm. At what time is drop off?
There's 3 different schools this year.
Oh,
so it's rounds.
Do you have help or is it just you?
My husband helps, but and his parents live near us and they're helpful. Not in the mornings. It's usually just me, and I prefer it that way because like my teenagers are like, "Can mom take me? Can mom pick me up?" Like they want to tell me stuff right away, and I'm good with that. I want them to feel like I'm always available to them. Except when they're trying to call me from school, and I'm on calls. Anyway, so I transition after drop off at 8:30. The last drop off is at 8:30, and I try to just get myself into a flow. And I usually do. I can be like really flowy until about 2.
Yeah, because that's when your energy is, and then after 2 o'clock, I'm usually like,
oh, I have to force it from 1 to 2 a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, no more phone calls, no more Zooms, no more podcasts. Don't talk to me.
Yes,
it's almost time for dinner at 4 o'clock. Like, then I gotta crawl into bed by 8.
Exactly.
Kids are at school. You are the CEO of your brand. Mm-hmm. What does a regular work day look like for you?
Well, I wasn't a clinician for a long time because I have these challenges. I have my membership and I try to just manage those. But what I was seeing in the functional space is that they were still really treating symptoms with pills, and it was therapeutics and supplements and biomolecular. But I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way, right? And so I got my integrative health practitioner certification, and then I got my master blood chemistry certification so that I could help the people in my membership better. So if people want my eyes on something, they have to be part of my membership. So I spend a lot of time going through membership emails, but now I am a clinician too. So I see clients. And so a lot of like 3 hours at least are filled with client calls, which isn't ideal in my 5-hour workday and having a dog that needs walked. I forgot to add that part. I feel like I'm very efficient with time. And usually that hour before the kids wake up, I have like my calendar planned out, but I write my education for my membership content. So it depends on what time of the month it is. I do 2 member calls a month, and I always prep some education for those calls. Right now I'm writing the summer challenge and doing all these work meetings with publishers and interviews. So thank you for having me. So yeah, my workday changes by the day, which is really good for my personality type. I could never show up and do the same thing every single day. I don't know if you're like that.
When's your birthday?
June 8th.
Are your other siblings entrepreneurs? Or?
My youngest sister actually is. My youngest sister's only 23.
Yeah.
She's like 17 years younger than me or something like that. She was in the military, so she did something really different than everyone else too. But she became a military dog trainer.
Oh, that's fun.
I know. So now she still trains dogs. So she has an entrepreneurial
I need
spirit.
her.
I know.
I need to send her to my house.
I need her too. But yeah, none of my other siblings are entrepreneurial yet. They all have really cool stories to tell though.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts, right?
Yeah, I know. I always say like my story and my sister's story are so different. Even though we grew up in the same household,
and it took me a long time to believe that, because I would be like, gosh, you guys act like we had it so rough, because I was kind of blinded to anyways. The day-to-day is always exciting and fun. It just varies.
What's your favorite meal or do you actually cook all of your meals per day? Or
pretty much. I use a lot of leftovers for lunch. And I always cook breakfast and dinner and then snacks. We use organic meal bars. Or smoothies or whatever. What's my favorite meal of the day, or what's my actual favorite meal?
Recipe. What's your favorite recipe is what I want.
I love a Power Bowl. So I don't have an exact favorite. It just depends. And like, I still am cycling every 28 days. So depending on what stage of my cycle I'm in, I want like more like salty or savory?
What's your advice for women cycling and what they're craving and how to manage that?
Following my feel good food philosophy really helps to understand your cravings a lot better. And then like leaning into intuitive eating of like, you know, in your second half of your cycle is called luteal phase, and you are more hungry. And you, some people feel bad about that, or they try to stay on the same calories like all month long. It doesn't work that way.
Do you count calories? No. Okay, I never have.
Never have. I used to measure my food. That was part of my disordered cycle. But yeah, I never count calories. In fact, we hide it from our challengers. We like put it really small so they don't see it, because we want people to be really intuitive in how they eat. So like, here's your combination guidelines or roadmap, but you know, be intuitive. So like, if you're having cravings in the afternoon, a lot of the times it's because you had too small of a lunch. And so the other side of medicine I've recently gotten into is Ayurvedic. Have you heard of Ayurvedic?
Oh, yeah.
I love Ayurvedic. And it really helps you understand the nature of the body better. So increasing the lunch size for women is really helpful to combat those cravings. And then like for dinner, you're just kind of even keel.
What's your opinion on carbs? Because I used to be like, no carbs after 3. And now I'm like, give me that sourdough and that butter.
Oh, for sure. Sourdough and butter all day. I always am like, okay, what protein am I going to have with my sourdough? I plate my food around Do you make it homemade?
No, not yet. Everyone else does. But
very soon.
I just get it from Whole Foods, warm it up
Perfect.
in the oven. And,
I actually have a homemade loaf on the counter right now. That the kids will eat when they get home. Carbs are our friend, especially women's friend. And our brains use glucose for energy, and our liver uses glucose for energy. And I think when you understand how to combine them, you understand the power of them, the purpose of them. They are energy providers and not just energy output. Like I was saying, there's energy cycles in the body that need carbs.
Yeah. I've noticed the past few years, I've craved more carbs. And so if you're intuitive, like how do you recognize and listen to what your body is asking for? If someone is just like, I have no clue what's going on. I don't know what to eat. How do you listen to your body?
I mean, that's such a long-winded answer, but I'm going to be short and just talk about the food side of things and not the biochemistry side of things, because I don't want to lose your listeners. When you have certain cravings, a lot of times it's your body speaking to deficiencies and phytonutrient needs. So like besides sourdough, what's another carb craving for you?
Pasta.
Pasta. Okay, so first of all, pasta makes us feel full. So there's like a neurofeedback when it comes to eating a meal, like that's carb heavy, that makes us feel full, because especially if you've ever dabbled in disordered eating, it's a control thing, or it's a fear or whatever. So just managing that craving with like making sure you have plenty of protein and healthy fat. And so like my basic rule of thumb is this much carbs. So that's a pretty good amount of like
So
pasta.
your whole hand.
Yeah, your whole hand. This much fat, because fat's twice as nutrient dense as far as calories go. And then this much protein.
So your fist. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like if I'm craving pasta, I'm going to eat pasta. I'm just going to make sure it has meatballs on the side. Do you eat meat?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Meatballs on the side, or if you don't eat meat, then like chickpeas or lentils or something that high fiber, good amount of protein. And then fat's easy. It's like butter or olive oil or, avocado. You don't need much of it. So I'm always going to build my meal around my craving, and I'm going to choose the healthier option or the better for me option. For me, I can't really eat gluten unless I ferment it for a long time. So we do the jovial pasta a lot of times.
Okay.
But we don't limit our serving size.
Yeah. Let's talk about protein in women, especially 40 plus, because that's, I focus so much on getting enough protein.
And it's hard, huh?
Yeah. I just counted one day, and you're supposed to have, 1 gram of protein per body weight. It was hard to get 80 grams of protein.
Yeah. That makes me want to lose weight, because I don't like that rule. I say like 90 to 100 for the average woman.
But I'm 5'10".
That's true.
5'10", 160, let's say.
Yeah. And
there's no way I'm getting 160
part of the
grams
reason
of
that people are finding such good success with protein is because when our bodies become less resilient to stress, so like during perimenopause and then the beginning of menopause, postmenopause, not so much, but our bodies become less resilient to stress because our hormones are changing, progesterone is down. We become more insulin resistant when we have more stress, and we feel the stress and our bodies are stressed. And so protein doesn't impact your insulin. And so people are finding great success with that because they're not dealing with the root cause, which is the stress, and then the lack of stress resistance. So I'm all for protein, but I'm just as fanatical about all 3 macros as I am any of the 1 macros. I think they do better together. And sometimes you do need a higher amount of protein to pull yourself out of insulin resistance and back into a insulin sensitive, like normal, life. But yeah, it is hard. And when I see people that are only prioritizing protein and getting like 40 grams a meal, I'm like, I could never eat 6 eggs. I'm not Gaston.
I try to get those hard-boiled egg packages, and I'm like, I can't eat that whole thing.
Yeah. So if I'm like going in a protein mode, and I don't very often, but recently I did what you said you did. So I was like counting my fiber grams and I was counting my protein because I was more curious, because I've done this on repeat for 17 years that I haven't ever needed to like try, So yeah, I was having to supplement some powder.
Yeah.
And bone broth powder is my preference.
So the bone broth powder in the packages, is that just as good as like if you buy the liquid?
Collagen or liquid what?
Bone broth, like.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. So where you mix it with water.
I would say bone broth is better than bone broth protein powders because it's less processed.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is one way to actually enhance your protein. But for some reason, I forget about it myself.
Yeah.
But having like 1 cup of bone broth with every single meal would really help. And it's easier to digest because it's liquid.
Yeah.
That's a good way. And then the powders that I do like are bone broth powders or beef isolate are some of my favorite options.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I just can't eat that much meat. I can't eat that many eggs personally. I can eat fiber all day, every day. I can eat beans and legumes and vegetables, but I can't eat that much protein. So I'm with you.
So number 1 tip for someone who feels like they don't know where to start with their nutrition and it's all overwhelming. I mean, people feel like this all or nothing mentality from fitness, nutrition, that then you're just like, frick it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you start?
Yeah, because it's not a win-lose game. It's just a daily, goal. Or I feel like for some people, they do make it such a task. But the starting point is to learn to combine macros. that's what's going to take you the farthest. That's what's going to sustain you. Then you can start to get creative with the foods that you use, and you can make meals that you're craving when you know how to combine macros.
Yep.
If that's too overwhelming, then just choose one recipe out of my book a day.
There you go. The feel good way.
Yes, the feel good way. Just choose one, whether it's breakfast or dinner, because I feel like those are the two that most people cook, you know?
Yeah. I just got a new cookbook, and I'm going to get yours too.
Yay.
And I realized how much I love holding a cookbook.
Yes.
And having it open on my kitchen island. And yeah, you can Google or...
And even decorating the kitchen with them.
Yeah.
Like I have them on my shelves, and I'm always inspired by them. And I love hearing the message of why people created them.
Yeah.
Because like at my core, I'm not like this superb chef. In fact, people will like make fun of what knives I'm using if I do like a
oh my gosh, or
video
if you cut
online.
Something wrong, or like you don't curve your fingers right.
Yes.
I got
I know.
shamed
They're
for-
like, are you seriously using that knife?
It worked.
Like, are you inspired? But like, I didn't go to culinary school. You know, I do this because I want to bring purpose to people's life. I want to bring them more joy. I want to bring them more predictability, you know? So recipe development for me is just nurturing the body.
So if you get your cookbook, because this is what I do in the morning, I don't like to go to the grocery store. So I'll open up a cookbook, be like, this is what I want for dinner. And I'll place an order on whatever delivery, get those
You do
ingredients.
Shipt or Instacart or Amazon because you do Whole Foods.
Yeah. And then I have fun because I feel like cooking is very meditative at the end of the
Same.
day.
But I don't like going to the store either.
No.
And if you live in the South, you could be there all day talking to the cashier. I don't usually have a lot of time for that, like type of meditative experience, but I just think of when I am in the kitchen. And that's the other thing that my book talks about is like, this is a sacred space. These are some of the biggest conversations your family will ever have are in the kitchen or by the kitchen.
It's the meals. That's when the family gets together.
The meals. It's the dinner table. But like, how do you set the tone for that is like, you are grateful when you're in the kitchen. You're grateful for the food that you have to prepare. You're grateful for the people that you get to prepare it for, you know? And so even though it's like a little bit more rushed for me, I'll get there someday and enjoy the meditative experience of it. Because I really do. And I'll be like, you know, I'll just be the grandma that goes to their houses and cooks.
There you
but
go.
I'm with you on that. I like that. You mentioned that.
Well, thank you, Cara Clark.
Thank
And where
you for
can
having
we?
me.
Yeah, where can we get your book?
So it's sold everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, anywhere really that you find books online, I think. Target, Walmart, you name it.
Are you doing a physical book tour?
No physical book tour. We are doing a launch party in Nashville and then another launch celebration with my membership community. Anyone that wants to come at the historical downtown Franklin Theater.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Can't wait to do your recipes, make your recipes, and meditate.
Yes. Keep me posted on that.
I will. I'll tag you when I upload a recipe. Thanks for coming.
The big silence. It's time to sing.